welcome everybody here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. I am your host, Andrew Valentin, and we are coming to you live here from the Illinois Media School here in Lombard, Illinois. And I hope you're all having a wonderful Wednesday. And as you all saw last week, unfortunately, my partner in crime was not here with me. But fret not, mon frères, because he is back, the ever-talented, the man himself, the walking, handsome blueberry man, Mr. Drew Gwillem. Drew, how you doing, man?
Prefer a blue raspberry.
Oh, excuse me, blue raspberry. I apologize for that.
Huge into the blueberries.
That's fine.
They're not for everyone.
Listen, man.
They're all right. I don't mind them.
They're full of antioxidants, and I'm assuming you are as well because you're wearing the blues. So, but how you doing,
Keep
man?
you strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doing fine. Car's
Awesome.
fixed.
Good,
Yeah.
man.
Nice kick in the wallet, but it's fixed.
Oh, trust me, I'm about to have one of those myself.
Yeah.
I have both AC and tires and oil change dues, so I'm ready to empty my bank account.
I'm just, I should have just burned it. Should have just set the damn thing on fire and walked away.
Watched it burn.
I actually recommend it to you.
Okay.
I would
yes.
suggest doing that instead of paying to get it fixed because
Yeah,
it's pretty more fun to
I know.
watch it burn. Screw you.
I love my Black Beauty, but she's starting to fail me now. This little horse is starting to get a little long in the tooth,
Yep.
unfortunately. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll have a live burning of Black Beauty.
So once again, like I said, I'll be sending my Venmo out. Anybody wants to help fund these
Absolutely.
broke down vehicles?
The new Boom Crew vehicles, ladies
Yeah.
and gentlemen. Please help out the Boom Crew by purchasing their new.
our Boom Crew hoopties.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's pretty. I like that. Thank you, Boom
That's
Crew
what we
Hoopties. We will. That'll be our new Venmo page. So please subscribe and send us some money your way. Well, Drew, we got a lot to talk about here. It's a baseball-filled phenomena that's been happening as of this last week.
Should I give my pre-show analysis on baseball again?
I mean, if you want to. How did it go again, Drew? How was it?
Baseball dumb. Baseball bad. All-Star game stupid. Analysis.
Analysis by cavemen,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen.
Whoa.
Excuse me. Pardon me, but
I'm effervescent before the show starts, and then it's caveman. Okay. All right. Go on.
Fine.
Go on
All
with
right,
the
yes.
show.
All right, thank you. Well, Oog is apparently very upset at me. So, Oog, ready for show?
Ugh.
Well, let's do this then, ladies and gentlemen. Because speaking of clubs, we've got to talk about baseball. The All-Star break just came and went, and it was obviously very filled with fun, I guess. It depends, I guess, who you talk to. We'll get into a little bit more on the All-Star break here later in the second half of the show. But I want to talk about, obviously, what's been like the big story kind of going through baseball, and that's Juan Soto. Because, obviously, it kind of broke last week or even before that, we were hearing, obviously, there was the talk of he was going to be offered this giant deal by the Washington Nationals. It obviously got put on the table. And he has since declined it. He declined a 15-year, $440 million extension to stay with the Washington Nationals, which is obviously insane to think about passing up such a huge amount of money. But I obviously, as I'm sure you can probably tell on my notes, I went really deep diving into this thing pretty intensely. Doing a lot of the math on this thing as well, if you want to know. So Juan Soto, for this deal, it was going to be broken down. The man actually would be making about $29.3 million a year, which actually ranks only 20th overall per season in money. Now, I know for us who are not famous baseball players, that's obviously, in a heartbeat, we would take that, no problem. Of course.
And to me, that's why this deal didn't get done. Because they put that 15 years. Yeah, 440 sounds real and looks real good.
Of course.
But the yearly on that, like you said, puts him in the 20th. That's not what he wants. He wants more of that yearly, so 440, and then drop the years down, and I'm sure he would have agreed.
Absolutely. Well, listen, for what Juan Soto has done, I mean, you're talking about a guy who, for the last 2 years now, he's a back-to-back All-Star. He's won the World Series in 2019, right? This is a 23-year-old player that since he came up with the Nationals, he has just been on the spotlight as, I would argue to say, one of the top 10 baseball players maybe in the league. I think he's clearly one of the 5 players you can say as a face of the league right now. That's like, who are you watching for? I really like Juan Soto. Like, he's one of those guys you watch baseball for because you don't know what he could do. He's an exciting guy to watch. And obviously, yes. So the money, for those who don't know, lot of the contract has come out, and we found out now that it was actually very much backloaded. So this $29.3 million per year wouldn't even have occurred. It would have been all backloaded. So he's not getting any of this money really till later in his career. So you're talking 23 plus the 15. He's up there at that point. He's 30, 40 something at that point, right? Whatever it is. Math is not happening in my head right now. So imagine if you're Juan Soto and you hear that, you're like, no, I'm not taking this deal. Absolutely not. And like you said, if you're in that smaller percentile, obviously it's no way. I want to be paid like one of the top players in baseball, as I think in my opinion, he rightfully should be. I mean, he's clearly been the best player on this team for a long while. But Drew, obviously, I mean, there's so much to this. And I mean, we're going to get even more into the meats and the potatoes of it. But to break this down even further, $181,000 per game would have been the annual outcome, again, taking out the backloading and all that stuff, which I then, at an average of 3 at-bats, it's averaging out to $60,000 at bat, which just give me once at the plate, and I'm happy, man. I'm telling you.
That's more than a lot of people make in a year.
Tell me about it. But what are your thoughts with Juan Soto before we kind of get more into the meats of it? I mean, obviously, this is a fantastic player, as we've seen throughout his short career thus far. I mean, turning down the money, obviously, you say, am I here to guess that you agree with his move?
Yeah, I don't blame him at all. He's going to have plenty of suitors if he wants to play out his contract and then go into free agency. There are going to be plenty of people that are going to be willing to pay him what he wants to play for their baseball team.
Yeah.
We've seen it time and time again. Teams are doing it once over, twice over on some of these players.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the Yankees are well, they have that money tree we've talked about with like the LA Rams and all that. So
love a money tree.
Not every team is able to do these things.
Right.
But there are plenty of teams that are able to do these things, and they will pay him what he wants.
Absolutely.
And at a young age of 23, with a long career still ahead of him, barring injury, anything serious, hopefully nothing like that ever happens to him, but he's got a long career still ahead of him. And team him up with the right spot, with the right players. Yes, it's going to cost a lot, but he's worth the money. He's proven that. He's won a World Series. He's been a big part of everything they've done.
Yeah.
So if they're not going to pay him what he wants, somebody else will. We've seen it in baseball over and over and over again.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and look, let's get a little bit more into Juan Soto, right? Because this guy's list of achievements already has been pretty amazing, right? I mean, you look at his numbers, right? 118 home runs, 355 RBIs, a slash line. This is for his career, by the way. Keep that in mind. And 1,924 at bats. His slash line is 293, 427, 541. Anybody would want that. Everybody wants this guy, and that goes to show, right? By the way, this guy has walked 452 times. That means he has a pretty good walk percentage against pitchers. So he's not only a guy that can slug the ball, he's patient at the plate, which everybody is looking for now. And you're not just a big hitter, you're a guy who can make contact consistently, right?
And I think one of the big things a lot of teams look for is left-handed hitting.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's where he's at.
Mm-hmm.
And he does it with power and with a great eye, like you just said. And he puts it all together.
Yeah.
He's a complete baseball player that puts it together, and man's gonna make his money.
Oh, absolutely. He's clear and above one of the best 5-tool players I think we've seen come out in a long time. This guy, by the way, too, on his achievements, again, like we said, 2-time All-Star. He's won the World Series now in 2019 with the Washington Nationals, obviously a key part in that. He's also won the Silver Slugger twice. We can't forget that as well. This guy has done quite a bit in a short amount of time in his career, and it should be exercised too. By the way, in his postseason, if you want to know his numbers, 277, 373, 554 for the postseason. Only one postseason, mind you, but it was a world championship, postseason. 5 home runs, 14 RBIs, 18 hits for 12 runs. A solid player through and through, right? I mean, it's going to be 24 soon. And that's the thing, is that for what he's been able to accomplish at such a young age, you would obviously think everybody obviously is eyeing this young man saying, what's the cost, right? How much is this going to cost us? Because it sounds like that he definitely is not okay with what's going down in Washington. Because For those who don't know, the Washington Nationals this year, they are currently have only 31 wins. They're at the bottom of the division. They look like they're going to be probably one of the worst teams in baseball yet again. And obviously, he doesn't want to be a part of that. He has such a long career ahead of him. Why lock yourself in for 15 years of just absolute turmoil that could be in play, right? Again, this guy is going to be 38, 39 by the time this contract would be over with. Why lock yourself in? And then you're only getting that money at the back end of your career if you're even a national at that point. Who knows?
Right, and at the same time, thinking down the road, I don't know why the Nationals would want to do it this way too, because why would somebody trade for a player that if he's that unhappy and doesn't want to be there, they're not going to trade for him with all that money on the end that they have to give him. Like, all the money's on the end, that's when you're going to, you would trade a player like that.
Right, exactly. You want to eliminate everything that you possibly can to clear house.
And on Soto's end as well of thinking, why would he want to be there for 15 years if he doesn't agree with the plan? But at the same time, like, who's going to want to trade for me and pay me all that money at that point in my career?
Right, exactly. Like, who was clearly begging for Albert Pujols at this time? The
No
only team that signed him was the original team.
The All-Star team was begging
exactly.
for him. That was it. Yeah.
By the way, Schwarb's got robbed. I'm just, I get it. You wanted Pujols in there. He did a fine job. But by the way, our guy King B-Mac shouting out too. He said there was a no-brainer for Soto. He'd be 38 by the end of the contract, taking essentially a national for life. Yeah, exactly. He also says MLB is going to have new TV money coming in eventually, and player salaries will continue to go up, and he'd be locked in with the Nationals in the prime of his earning power of this deal. MLB's TV contracts with Turner, ESPN, and Fox run through 2028. So in about 5 years, those are going to be soon to be 5 years. So about 6 years at this point. They're going to be up. Soto would be under contract until 2037, which Bobby Bonilla would still be getting paid. Bobby Bonilla, you would still be getting paid before even at that point. All right. I'm just curious. Yeah, that's right. Happy Bobby Bonilla, because he'd still be getting paid, which is insane to think that he'd still be getting paid even past this deal. Mets, what are you doing? Unreal. That's a good point. Thank you, King B-Mac. I appreciate. Yeah, the new TV money would be coming in at that point. And these are kind of the important details, too, that you have to remember. The Lerner family is the one that owns the Nationals. And Ted Lerner has since given principal ownership over to his son, Mark. And Mark Lerner has clearly made it kind of known, like, I don't really want to own the team anymore. The family's kind of decided we want to sell the team. So they want to sell it. So if you're an older owner, if you're the old owner, why would you sign this deal now when you possibly could get more before in the offseason at the winter meetings, I believe it is, they have for Major League Baseball? Like, why wouldn't you wait till then where you clearly can kind of say, Juan Soto's on the table, who wants him? Because they got him for 2 more years of control. He's under the arbitration signing for this year, and then they have 2 more years of team control. So you can trade him still. So that offer is still going to be out there.
I think this was Washington shooting their shot.
Yes.
And it didn't land. So
no.
Now it's like, all right, well, we're going to get as much as we possibly can for this guy.
Absolutely. I mean, and here's the other thing too, like, wait until, like, I don't know when this deal is going to go through for when they do sell the team. It seems like it'll be the inevitability that they will eventually be selling the team. The question is, though, who will buy it? Because I think they said estimated about $2 billion right now is the sale that's going to be made for them. So the owner's going to have to pay $2 billion for that, and then you're going to have to make a decision. Do we want to sign Soto to a $500 million contract for X amount of years? Like, that's going to have to be a conversation that the new ownership may have to make. I mean, and at that point, you got to think, do you want that money on your books, or do you want to see you can just try and trade him and get what you can for him? So and they don't have that many prospects anyway, so the team's not getting any better at this point. They're not, I mean, so I'll ask you this, Drew. I mean, obviously, right now, there's a lot of talk on the trades for Soto at this point. It sounds like the Padres right now, obviously, are the leaders because they've got everybody and their mother on their prospect list, and then some players. The other teams that have been named as well sound like they're going to be San Francisco, Seattle, or say St. Louis, I should say St. Louis and Seattle, and obviously the 2 New York teams, the Mets and the Yankees. But I ask you, Drew, I mean, do any of these teams sound like a good spot for Soto to potentially land?
Soto's a good spot anywhere.
Okay.
And a team that wants to win and has the prospects to get him. He will fit anywhere. He can go anywhere. That's what baseball teams, every team in professional sports needs. It's a guy like this to be on their team to help them win championships.
Right.
You would win championships by having the best of the best on your team, along with very, very solid role players, everybody that does their job and does it the right way.
Right.
That's him.
Yeah.
That's him. And plug him into any one of those teams, and then all they lose is prospects, maybe a guy in his position on the professional roster.
Right. Yeah.
They're gonna do good things all the way around with any team there.
Now, let me ask you this, because obviously we both being fans of teams here in Chicago, you have the north side for the Cubs, I have the south side for the Sox. I genuinely am a Sox fan who's going to say I don't really want the Soto deal. There's actually another player that's playing on the West Coast that I would really rather see the Sox potentially push for. I kind of made that known on Blow the Whistle on Monday. And I'll save that for maybe another time, or maybe I'll tease it here. I don't know. But for you, Drew, I want to hear from your side for being a Cubs fan, your perspective on the Cubs potentially pursuing Juan Soto, considering he's obviously one of the faces of baseball. He's so young. Obviously, it would cost a lot of money, and it would certainly cost quite a few prospects and potential even players at this point to maybe even get him.
They won't do it.
Okay.
They won't do it.
I was going to ask, for you personally, would you want to see them pursue Juan Soto? And then I was going to ask, do you think that they would even possibly look at the deal?
No, I don't think they're going. I don't even think they're. Maybe they'll make a call.
Okay.
See what it would take.
Yeah.
You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't do that for your team.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure they're making the call, checking in, seeing what it would cost. Is it right for this team now? I don't think so.
Okay.
Because you'd have to have a guarantee that he's going to re-sign a contract here.
Right.
After giving up all those prospects to get him when you're clearly not even close to winning.
Right, yes.
And then, you'd have to have him there for a long time to be there when some of these prospects, if you have any left,
right.
they're middle of the pack prospect list at this point.
Yeah.
They have some nice up and coming guys, but they're not at that point of they're almost ready to play.
Right.
So it's tough where you're kind of middling in the prospect list and you're trying to build that up after being totally decimated there.
Right, yes.
And then having terrible major league talent as well.
Yeah.
Plugging him in here is like, might as well just stay in Washington.
Yeah.
And then he might be better off in Washington.
Right, yeah.
So for the Cubs, I don't see it as the right thing for them to do right now.
Okay.
If it's, hey, 2 years down the road when his contract's up and he's a free agent and you just got to pay him.
Right.
And he wants to come here. Maybe some more of these guys are ready to go. Maybe you can be more competitive. I'm 100% in on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't get me wrong. I would love to have Juan Soto on the Cubs and be rooting for that guy.
Absolutely.
Game after game.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's right for them right now. I don't think that he would want to be here. He's trying to leave Washington for kind of the same reasons of not being good, competitive.
Yeah.
Not really knowing the direction they're going. Well, I don't really know the direction the Cubs are going.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't think that this place is the right one for him, and it's definitely not the right time.
Yeah. I would say the Cubs should, like you said, it should at least make a call. Listen, the thing is, he's young enough that you can still say his future's wide ahead of him. His prime is still to come, I think, at this point. I don't think he's even hit the level he's capable of. I would say that the Cubs certainly have the ability, I think, to say he's the focal point. Let's build around Soto. And I think that would be a fine idea. But like you said, how much would it cost? And I think the guy that would probably need to be there to stay, which I don't know if they would actually stay in this situation, he may be costing, is Contreras.
Yeah.
I would think.
Which I think
he's
gone.
I think so. I think so too, unfortunately. Although he's said comments at the All-Star that he's like, I get a feeling like I'm going to be, this is my last time as an All-Star as a Cub. He said that, I saw, according to the Sun-Times. So maybe there's something in the works. We'll see. We'll see. I don't hold my breath on that.
Stupid. Yep. More analysis for you.
Yeah, but I think he's the guy that.
That's how I feel about
yeah,
it.
I understand. But I think Contreras is the guy that needs to stick around if Soto were to say, because he's going to be like, look, I need help. I can't do this by myself. I think it would cost them, I think, a couple position players potentially. I think you could easily boatload some of them. I'm not saying I want to see for the Cubs Schwindel and Wisdom kind of go, but if you got to send both those guys, I think sending them. They're both older players at this point.
They're just guys.
Yeah, exactly. They're older players at this point. I would say maybe one or two of your guys because they've got 4 guys. Let's remember in the top 100 right now. We went through that a few weeks ago. There's a good chance that you could maybe send 1, maybe 2 of those guys that you feel might be, more ready to. Because they're rebuilding at this point, letting Soto go. So that's the big thing about the Nationals when it comes to Juan Soto. Like I said, for the White Sox, I personally wouldn't really want to see them trade for Juan Soto. I actually want them to call the Angels and say, hey, bring the show to the South Side. Because, again, we could go all day on this. I'm just going to say in a quick synopsis, I think he's withering away in there. I would give up Jimenez, Kopech, Moncada, and then plus prospects for Ohtani at this point. I might do the same thing for Soto, but I think for what Soto gives you as a hitter is nice. But for what the White Sox need as far as a pitcher and a hitter, you kill 2 birds with 1 stone with Ohtani. I think that would be better. But I can understand the value being there in a player like Soto. If you're trying to win, he definitely helps you win. He's definitely that caliber of player. But a little bit of fun information. He actually now joins a long list of stars that have been in Washington that include Bryce Harper, Anthony Rendon, and Trey Turner, to have turned down deals. Now,
do I sense a trend?
Do you sense a trend?
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Again, with everything else too, there's a pattern here.
Yes.
There's a pattern that has formed throughout the years, and I think it's trying to tell us that Washington's organization isn't all that great.
Do you think so? I'm getting the vibes too.
Proof is in the pudding.
Absolutely.
Pudding.
Pudding.
Okay.
Getting me hungry, man.
Yeah, that always happens. Our cooking show, usual.
We will do that at some point, folks. By the way, I'm just letting everybody know. Saturdays, we're going to see what happens. There could be a potential opening for us. So don't know exactly what time it'll be, but keep an eye out for that. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But it is interesting that, you look at these deals, right? The Nationals offered a 10-year, $300 million to Harper. They offered 7 years, $215 million to Rendon. They offered 6 years, $100 million to Turner. All 3 of them turned down those extensions and have since gone on to other teams, right? Rendon signed with the Angels. Harper signed a big mega deal for even more, I think it was actually less money at this point, with the Phillies. And then you have, obviously, Trey Turner, who got traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers, which came in a huge mega deal, of course, that has really helped the Dodgers just be like, yeah, screw it, money for everybody, because that's how it works.
We pay all.
Yeah, exactly. And I did a little bit of estimation on this for the math. If you combine that with the money that Soto was going to get, you come out to over 38 years in contracts and just over $1 billion in money that's basically been left on the table by 4 all-star free agents. Now, obviously, since then, Rendon of the 4 of these guys has kind of fallen off the map from where he once was. But at the time, he was all-star caliber player. And to only think what could have been, and then you include the fact that they still had Scherzer potentially on that roster, they could have been littered with championships at this point. But like you said, though, Drew, this is clearly a trend. Where do the Nationals kind of go from here at this point? If Soto is out, be it a trade or just hits free agency after his whole baseball control deal is done with the Nationals, if that's it, where does Washington go from here? All things considered, with potential sale of the team and everything going on with them.
Well, I think Soto would have to pull a fast one for him to hit free agency and them to not know that he's not going to resign with them and go play elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's no way they let him leave for nothing.
Right.
You can't.
I don't think, I would say there's no way you can do that.
So that's the way they have to do it now. Build from ground up, basically, prospects coming in and hopefully find some winning pieces.
Yeah.
They have before. They have gotten winning players before, clearly. They just can't keep them.
No. No, they can't.
So they have their organization, I think, has a lot to figure out with the sale of the team, everything else, trying to keep players there.
Yeah.
And then rebuild the system, rebuild the team.
Yeah. God, I always want to try to give the Washington Nationals as much of a benefit of the doubt as I can, which I know is difficult. Trust me, I know it's not easy to do that to a team that has clearly been struggling. I mean, not really struggling too much. Listen, they did win a World Series championship. Right. They do have a guy like Steven Strasburg, who I think he's not the best anymore, but he's still decent enough that I think he can give you wins. I think if you're saying Juan Soto goes, I think they kind of, not to open up old wounds, again, apologies for Cubs fans out there, but I think they kind of have to do what the Cubs did with Baez and Rizzo and Bryant. Kind of sell the ship for what you can get, right? See what you can get for prospects. I'm not saying at the deadline, but I'm saying that at some point you need to start saying, okay, if our superstar is leaving, then maybe we should consider selling off the other key pieces of that.
See, I think this is a different situation because the 3 stars, I'm not calling them superstars because they haven't played there.
Yes.
Thought they were worth way more than what their production was. Outside of Rizzo right now, he's the only one playing beyond his contract.
Right.
And so at this point, as mad as Cubs fans were for them not signing the deals and not giving them the money that they wanted to be here, they weren't producing at that level.
Right.
And they were not going to pay them for lack of production.
Fair, yeah.
So in this case of Soto, he's produced. He's earning that money.
Absolutely.
He's earning that. He's not having a downturn like Javi Baez has.
Right.
And how Chris Bryant has. How even Rizzo has with back injuries and all that, getting older. They couldn't push more money into that because it could hurt the team in the long run. And it's finding out that they just don't want to spend money anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, it is a little bit of a different situation. It's just difficult because at this point with the Nationals, it feels like they need to kind of hit the reset button because you're losing such a generation. I mean, this is a guy that I think is a generational star, a potential. I know it's early again to say, but he's got like Hall of Fame caliber written on his name. He's got he was in such a slump for a while there, and his July has just picked up. Like June and July for him, from what I understand, was just great. And that's what's really helped him to kind of save the season. He's hitting 250 right now, but he still has 20 home runs and like 70 RBIs, I think, or something like that. Like he's still clearly producing, even though this team has been so lackluster. So I think at that point, if you're saying he goes, then I think at that point you have to say, well, then maybe we should just kind of let everybody else go and get what we can get.
Agreed.
Start from the ground up.
That I can totally get on board with.
Yeah.
I think that's the route they have to go with him declining this deal. Kind of basically says that he doesn't like the deal, but it could also mean that he doesn't want to be there either.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Which I'm sure they've talked about.
Oh, I'm sure.
And had in discussions. Why are you turning this deal down? They'll get the feel for what he wants to do and where he wants to be, and then make their decision from there.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, for this month, if you guys want to know, he is hitting He has 6 home runs, 11 RBIs. He's walked about 16 times as well, so he's added into that. Only struck out 4 times so far this month, which is insane to think about, hitting 409 with an on-base percentage of .567 and a slugging percentage of .850. So clearly has picked it up major times so far this year. It's time, I think, for him to go, and it's time for the Nationals to start all over again. But we'll see what happens with Juan Soto. It was impressive to say the least that he was even. By the way, shout out to him for winning the home run derby. Thank you for the money. Appreciate that. When you put a little bit of money on the guy that apparently didn't even get his own jet line to the stadium, from what we understand. If you don't know, Scott Boras told the story, I guess, of how they turned down the deal and he had to fly commercial to the All-Star game and then went and won the home run derby. That's pretty.
Right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's a joke.
Yeah.
He's gone. He's not staying there for sure. I forgot about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of like the ugly cherry, the rotted cherry on top, shall we say, of this.
You don't want
what Sunday? Yeah. Well, then we're gonna disrespect you like that. And
that's a big slap in the face.
Absolutely. And you can say whatever you want about. And no, Scott Boras is his agent. You can say whatever he wants. That's looking out for your player. Putting that out there. That's saying, okay, Nationals just basically signed off on him, saying, well, we don't care then either. So then everybody else should start bugging the Nationals, saying we want him now. So that the clock is now ticking.
And why is everybody hating Scott Boras for doing his job?
Yeah,
his job is to try and get him as much money as he possibly can.
Yeah, exactly. For all the stuff we give him, of course.
Yes,
we can't blame him. He's made over $1 billion in contracts, which is nuts. No one has ever done that. He's insane. All right, well, we're going to get off of Juan Soto because obviously this man clearly has a lot of baseball left. I'm sure he'll end out the season probably as a strong one. Congratulations to him on probably the $500 million, maybe even $1 billion he probably makes. I don't know. Coming up next, though, we're going to be talking about some former questions asked by some wonderful people that watch us. We'll be talking all that next here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. And welcome back, everybody, here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. I'm still Andrew Valentin. I'm still here with Drew Gwillem, folks. And we just got done talking about the Juan Soto situation.
Juan.
Our man, Juan Soto. Juan's a really cool name.
What a beast.
Absolutely. Juans are just awesome. Right, Pop? That's right. My Pop's a Juan. He's an OG Juan, too, from the PR, baby. So, yeah, Juan Soto's from Dominican Republic, but basically the same thing. Well, not, but, you know. It's all the Caribbean, folks. But we got some breaking news, actually. The breaking news, folks, is that James Harden declined on his $47.4 player option for the season that allowed the Sixers to give the full mid-level exemption to free agent PJ Tucker. And Daniel, I think is how you say, House, I think is. I apologize if I got his name wrong. But basically, it allowed the 76ers to make the signing, and he has now since agreed to a $68.6 million deal that includes a player option for 2 years. This is according to our man, Adrian Wojciechowski. So, sounds like James Harden's going to be locked up as a 76er now, folks. It looks like
good luck to you.
Looks like Daryl Morey gets his guy.
Have at it.
I don't know if Joel Embiid's all too happy about this, but sure. We'll see if a James Harden, a PJ Tucker, and some guy with the last name House can really bring it to the Phillies. So, or to Philly, I should say. So, that's your breaking news from the NBA. But folks, we're moving into a new subject that I've been dwelling on because I've gotten some emails from some old school fans of ours. This is asked and answered. So we're kind of repeating some questions from some old school fans that have asked us these questions before for the new audiences that are out there that are watching us to kind of answer these questions. So Drew, you have never had the chance to answer some of these questions. Tom was the one that originally answered some of these questions. Well, one of these questions. He was here for one of them.
Just one.
Just one. And then he was not here for the other day. I clearly remember because I have when it comes to the show, I have a memory like an elephant on so many of these things. But are you ready to answer some of these questions? And then answer a question that's actually a game for us. Are you ready to do this?
Let's do it.
Let's do it then, my friend. So the first question, this comes from a long way back, man. This comes from our amigo Michael, who's from Roselle. Thank you so much, Michael, from Roselle, for asking the question. So long ago, he asked us about the All-Star, and he said, I love baseball so much, but when it comes to the All-Star break, I tend to get very bored with it. I'm not very much into the game. The home run derby is exciting, but the game itself is just not something I'm into. And he says that I never could get into the all-star celebrity softball thing, whatever you want to call it. He says it's not really a game, but, you know, it's a game by their name. But he asked us, is there a way that it can possibly be improved?
I got it.
Go for it.
I got it. You watch this show called The Boys on Amazon Prime. It's awesome.
It is
I was entertained for the whole All-Star game. The whole thing, I was entertained.
That's awesome. It's a very good show.
There's your answer.
It's a very good show. Also, I would throw in, because we kind of fanboyed on it when we were out, Peaky Blinders as well. Been rewatching that. Got to get to the new season.
Yep.
It's a great show. There's a lot of things you can watch.
Anyways,
yes. For the All-Star, I'll go first on this. I was talking with TJ in the back, and TJ, I'll even throw it to you as well, man, because I know you may have some thoughts on that too. But I'll go just real quick. For the All-Star, I think they should actually eliminate the game as a whole and either expand the home run derby and add in other skills challenges, like running the base pass on like a time thing, like a 40-yard dash essentially, or even doing like we see in Japan and Korea, these bunt challenges to try and hit it on the target for X amount of points and things like that. I think that would make it more interesting because, look, when it comes to the NBA All-Star game, I don't really care much about the game itself because I know it's going to run up the points. I just do it now for the betting purposes itself. Otherwise, I'm really kind of going more on the challenges side. I like the skills challenge. Three-point contest is always good. The dunk contest has kind of been disappointing in the later years now. But in the past, there's been monster moments with Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine and even Derrick Jones Jr. You've had some huge dunks that have happened, some like generationally, like I don't know if we'll ever see that again kind of thing. So I think if Major League Baseball did stuff more like that, I think there would be more reason to watch it, because unfortunately it's just another baseball game, and I don't really know. And even still, like Mike Trout decided to go on the IL before the game even started. So I don't even take that for what you want. I think he just didn't even want to play the game. He just wanted to probably rest at home with his family or whatever. So, but Drew, what about you? I mean, legitimately, is there a way to fix the All-Star game?
I don't really think so.
Okay.
Short answer,
okay.
No. I mean, they're trying. They're doing things like miking players up, which is entertaining.
Yes.
For some of them, it's very entertaining to hear some of these players and the things they have to say during these games.
Yeah.
Or the things they might say during these games.
Yes.
So I see that. I heard the part of, if it's game's tied, they'll go to a home run derby to try and finish it out.
Yeah,
that's cool if it happens.
Right, yes.
I mean, this is the only real All-Star game that has meaning behind it.
Yeah.
The winner gets home field advantage in the World Series.
Well, not anymore. That has since been...
That's correct.
That's no longer even part of the deal anymore. So
there's no more...
The incentive's kind of gone.
So no, I don't think there's really any way. Like, okay, cool, you're miking people up. That's fun.
Right, yeah.
Not to crap on your parade, I'm not watching a bunt competition.
No, yeah, I understand that.
And I'm not watching guys go run the bases. For me, like, in football, that's at the combine. That's for, like, players trying to make it in the NFL. They have to run that. Like,
yes.
I like the skills competition idea. That's why they do the home run derby. I just don't know that there's really much more you can do with that.
Spinny bat?
Yeah, like okay,
no, without the drinking, of course, but like spin around on a bat, I don't know, and try and run the base pass. Something.
Who can turn the wildest double play?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know. Like
craziest catch.
I don't know where to go with that because there's going to be some things you could do, but I think they're going to be boring as hell.
Right.
And baseball's boring enough to so many people that to try and bring people into this without meaning anymore even it's I don't know that there's much you can.
That's fair. TJ, what about you, man? You got any ideas for how to fix the All-Star game by any chance? I mean, or improve it or anything like that?
Well, I like your idea about doing like a skills challenge, but I would do like a skills challenge so instead of maybe with the home run, maybe like the longest home run, so they have this gigantic field, like a longest drive. The other one was, I was amused with it back here. Did you ever watch the NFL quarterback like competitions?
Yes.
And they had to hit the target?
Yes.
I think that would be good. They're like, all right, and now you got to hit the bullseye at 400 feet moving, and you got like, Mr. Met driving the car in the outfield, you got to hit him. That's the only other thing I can think of. Or we were talking about earlier is bring in the field and bring in the home runs and limit it down to like 6 position players and have like a little tournament. That's the only thing I can think of because otherwise, I mean, there was a snore fest. You said that, like,
right.
I mean, there was 1 inning total that was really exciting, and after that was just kind of good pitching and good defense. Like,
yeah.
Right.
I mean, I was on my phone more than I was actually watching the game last night.
Absolutely. My dad brought up a pretty good point. I like this. He said that the All-Star should actually be, I call it the no star. So everybody gets their worst players on their team. So basically anybody hitting above what's called the Mendoza line.
Yeah.
Or below the Mendoza line, which is 200 for the at-bat. That's a 200 batting average. Mendoza line and below, everybody plays in the All-Star game, and it's the worst players in baseball playing each other. I kind of like that idea. And here's the other thing too, like, because we talked about a while back when our sparkly, very, very, very pale white friend was here once, when we talked about the NBA potentially implementing a in-season tournament for X amount of dollars. And we said potentially push it to the end and let's put it as the worst teams play for the number one pick. And I think, why not make the All-Star break like the chance to play for like the number. And listen, and I know Major League Baseball's draft is not most watched. Like, I watched it because there's a lot of kids in there who were dads that played. Like, Matt Holliday's kid went number one, Jackson Holliday, and Andrew Jones's kid, Drew Jones, who probably should have went number one, actually went second overall. So it was cool to see that. It's cool to see what the Cubs and the White Sox got to. Some interesting kids. By the way, shout out to Owen Murphy from Brooksfield and Noah Schultz for being a White Sox from Proviso East. Shout out to the local kids.
Oswego,
yes. Oswego East. Excuse me. Oswego East. 6'9", by the way. Jeez, what a giant. You are a tree, my friend. And then please sign. Don't go to Vanderbilt. Please sign. We need help. If we can't get Ohtani, we'll take you. But nevertheless, I would be down for that. Who wouldn't be down to see the worst teams? The Nationals play for the number one pick potentially against the Angels, right? They're the other worst team in baseball. One of the worst. No, the Reds, right? Reds are really one of the worst teams in baseball for sure. Who's to say that wouldn't be like a fun game to watch? That might actually be entertaining to see. Who knows? There's a lot out there I think we can work with. So, all right. Well, we'll move into our next one. This is coming from Richie from Plainsfield. Richie, once again, is asking me this question. This is like the third time he's asked me this question in the span of we've been doing this show. He's actually an OG watcher from the very beginning. And he's asking me this question finally, once again. And he says, growing up, I grew up in Cleveland. He's eventually did move here to Illinois, so he's now in Plainfield. So again, thank you, Richie, for the comment. But he is a huge LeBron fan, huge Cavaliers fan, and all that stuff. So
sorry. Sorry, Richie.
So he is asking, yeah, I know. I apologize, man. But he's asking us, being you and me now, I guess, what is our, I put in quotes, hate for LeBron James? Because I don't necessarily say it's hate.
No.
There's a dislike there for myself personally. But Drew, for you, please go first, man. I mean, for you, what is the quote unquote hate for LeBron James for yourself?
We love you, Richie, but we do not agree.
Yeah.
We do not agree. See, for me, I think he tries to be Michael Jordan and tries to be better than him and thinks he's better than him. And he's just not.
Yeah.
It's hard to even put into words of being a Bulls fan and being a Michael Jordan fan and watching the greatest of all time do what he did, and then to see a fake like LeBron James come in and try and be him and try and do what he's done, and you're just not doing it.
Yeah.
I know you have numbers. I know you have all these stats. I know you have all these records.
Right.
You're not Michael. You're not Michael. Michael's the end of the game. The only guy you ever want, you're going to have take that shot every game. Ice water in his veins. LeBron doesn't take those shots.
Yeah.
But he talks and acts and pretends like he's that guy.
Right.
And to me, that's kind of phony. And I think he's done a hell of a lot of good things for the community. So he gets all the props for that. I'll love to see those things and guys on his pedestal and on his level that actually show up. So he gets all the credit for that.
Yeah.
He shows up for the people and he does good things. So that's awesome. But when it comes to basketball, and that's what we're talking about, I think he's a big crybaby. I think he's a whiner. I think he thinks he should get whatever he wants the way he wants it, and when it doesn't work out, it's everyone else's fault.
Yeah.
And that's not okay. You got to step up, and if you want it this way, then own that, and then own your mistakes and own your failures as well. And I don't know that he necessarily does that. Maybe sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't watch every press conference of his. I don't see every soundbite of his, but at the end of the day, I'm an MJ fan, and LeBron, you're one of the best of all time, but you're not on that level.
Yeah, look, let me preference. I don't hate LeBron James. Again,
no
it's hate in quotation marks, and even put it in quotation marks because Richie even said, I understand it may not be hate, but what is the dislike there for him? The dislike is the fact that there is I think he's being his realist him that he can be, but I think he's also trying to live up to an expectation that I think, yes, as fans, we are clearly kind of putting out there and kind of saying, it is almost unobtainable to be at that same level. It's hard to be at that same level as Michael Jordan. In terms of his fame and status and everything he's done and the success I'm sure he will have when it's all kind of said and done with his career and potentially post-career, I absolutely think he will be just right there with like Michael. I really do. I think he will be just right underneath him. The problem is that we are kind of putting Michael a little bit on a higher pedestal because, well, yes, yeah, it is the 6 rings. It does this.
I know. Everybody wants to argue. Oh, well, that's it.
It's always the
people
argument.
Have one more.
Right.
That's fine.
And I get it. He didn't the competition for some of these guys. Yeah, who was he being guarded on? We can go through that day in and day out.
Don't care.
Yeah, and I will say, in terms of the level of athletes that they're playing against, yes, LeBron is playing against guys that can clearly like jump over Craig Elo any day of the week, right? Like even what's his name? Cameron Johnson from like Phoenix. He's a bench guy, and he could probably jump 6 feet over Craig Elo, no problem.
Jordan did it then.
Yeah, exactly.
Could you imagine if Jordan wasn't allowed to get his ass kicked game after game after game, playoff series after playoff series after playoff series, hammered, thrown to the ground, punches thrown, and nobody's getting kicked out of games?
Yeah.
Fouls are being called. That's not how even close how the game is now.
Exactly.
If he was given all that cushion, see you later.
Absolutely.
50, 60 a game nightly.
Absolutely.
Nightly.
Yeah, I mean,
without taking nights off.
Yeah.
LeBron.
Yeah, that's true.
There's the other part of it for me too. Is people pay a ton of money to try and come and watch you play as one of the best ever. And you're taking these nights off because you I don't know, whatever reason.
I mean, listen, I'll say for LeBron, the one thing that I can say I think he has on the same level as Michael Jordan is his willingness to want to win. Okay? I honestly believe that he wants to win every time because no matter what you want to say, yes, he switched teams. Yes, he's gone to other teams. But let's also be clear on this. Has he ever been traded? No. He's always played out the contracts. He's always played his hardest, I believe. He's always gone out there to try and, I think, win games. He clearly still wants to win. I know this whole thing, he's in the Drew League. He's gone back to the Drew League, and he's beating down guys that obviously are, in the gym, playing pickup ball on their days off from working 5 to 9. I get that. I do. But
that's an off-season warm-up for him. He's just staying in shape, running around a little.
I've always said that I am envious of the player that he is. I love the person that gives to the charities. It's the celebrity thing that just is always like the amount of times I've had to hear him say I'm the best in the league or have to make some sort of announcement to an equivalent of that, trying to boast that out there in the world. It's just like, dude, you don't really have to say it.
You freaking made a second Space Jam.
Yeah.
Okay?
If that's any indication.
Yeah.
Another.
Here's your sign.
Yes. Yes, very much so. Yes. Look, I mean, come on. I mean, we don't want to put Bugs Bunny's face right up next to him. That's not right for him to do. So we make sure we cover that. Nice
Bugs Bunny is a Jordan fan anyways.
Yes, that's very true.
So,
but all in all, nevertheless, I will always, I think he will be the second all-time greatest player. I think he will be on that Mount Rushmore. I mean, look, when I have my Mount Rushmore players right now as it stands, I'll say it's Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Steph Curry. That'll be my Mount Rushmore right now. You can say otherwise, but for those are the guys who I say one brought the NBA back to life. The other one dominated on a monumental global level. The other one has clearly succeeded off of that to another degree. And Steph Curry completely changed the game in the way it was. So I think those are 4 guys that you can arguably respect. I think there's respect that needs to be put on LeBron James's name no matter what. Nevertheless, my hate, if you will, for him is just that the celebrity sometimes bleeds through when the athlete and the person that he is, I wish would step to the podium more than just I'm the greatest player in the world and I think I deserve this and that. Like, his voice changes things and he knows it. And I think sometimes he takes that for granted. And I think he needs to realize that he can do a lot of good things. And I think he does. But I think sometimes like the whole Nike China thing, I think is something that will forever be kind of held above his head, unfortunately. Those kind of things, kind of like how the Jordan thing was like Republicans buy his shoes too, from the documentary. We learned that from the documentary about them. Yeah. But that doesn't really get held above his head, but by some people's standards, it might now. Who knows? It's kind of the same thing in that same kind of realm. Who knows? But I do think he'll be just right there with Jordan, but that's what I will call my hate. That's for me. TJ, do you have anything for LeBron James? You want to say anything on that at all for why you hate or not hate, but don't really like LeBron or anything like that?
The only thing I have is when he gets fouled and he goes flying. That's the other one. Is just the flopping.
The flop artist.
He learned that from Shaq.
6'9". I mean, it's not like if you had like a Muggsy Bogues at like 5'7", 5'8", and he goes flying. Yeah, I got you.
Absolutely.
You're a big man, and you went down hard.
Yeah.
Like you sold
that. Play tight end in football.
Right, exactly. So that's the only reason I'm like, really?
Yeah.
You're in the crowd. You're in the camera well. Oh, are you guys? Everyone okay? Dude, you jumped in there.
The times you see the elbow fly by his face and there's that much space or there's like that much space in between and he's
yeah, he's a great actor. That's
writhing in pain on the ground.
Yeah, he's
for an elbow that never touched him.
Yeah, he's a great actor. That's why he's in such classics as
well, Space Jam 2. I didn't even watch it, but I heard it sucked.
Yeah, well, as somebody who did actually sit down and watch it.
Well, how could you do that?
I had to see. I had to see it. And if you love fan service, sure. It's not a good movie, but then again, it's also a movie made for kids. So I also understand that, but
Space Jam still holds up.
Well, I would argue it's not a great movie either, but our nostalgia
holds up. Next question.
Yes. Bill Murray.
Next question.
Bill Murray and Larry Bird and Newman clearly hold up. Sorry. All right, let's get to this one. This is a fun one. This comes from our guy, Richard. We were trying to do this offensive line thing for a while. It doesn't play out. I'm sorry. We may do it again, but I'm going to a different one. Richard sent this to us. This comes from Pro Football Focus. It's one of those $15 build a team challenge that I'm calling it for the O-line. And he says, you got $15 to spend on offensive linemen from this list, particularly as you can see right up here. So from this list, you've got $15. How do you build your offensive line? That's the game. That's how we're going to play it. So, Drew.
I already did mine.
I know you did.
Yeah,
you already
I did it in
yours.
10.
So
$10.
You did it in $10.
And then the one with 11.
So if you want to do both, or you want to
it's all the same minus one player at one spot. So I'm taking young Slater, young player in Sewell.
Okay.
Both dollars. Right. And then I'm going either Schreff or Tooney. So that's where it goes, $10 or $11. But then I'm paying all the way up for Nelson. And then that's Ragnow right there?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Ragnow. And I'm going that way. And I think that's a pretty damn good offensive line. And I would be very happy with that offensive line blocking for any quarterback.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I mean, listen, oh man, this is gonna be tough. All right, I'm looking at the list right now.
Don't get me wrong. There's tons of excellent players.
These are some of the best offensive linemen.
Taking two up and coming who look really like they're going to be really, really good players.
Yeah.
At your two offensive tackle positions.
Absolutely.
I'm thrilled with that.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I'm going to start off with, I actually think I'm going to take Staley first. I'll take Ronnie Staley first. I like him, so I'll start off there. Yeah. So that puts me down, to $13 right now. So I've got the 13 on my end. So I'll take Ronnie Staley to start it off. I think I'll go Oh man, this is tough. This is really tough. You know what? I'm gonna take Teron Armstead. I like Teron Armstead. I think he's a good tackle. So I'll take my 2 tackles. So I think that should put me down then to $10. So I'll do that. Oh man, this is where it gets tricky now. Man, where do I go next? I think I'm gonna go with Brandon Sheriff.
You have 5 guys to choose from.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna go with Brandon Sheriff next on my guard. I'm gonna say Brandon Sheriff, so that should bring me down to $8, right? If I'm not mistaken, that should be $8 then. So then I'm gonna spend my $5 on Quentin Nelson, because the man is an absolute monster as an offensive. I mean, how can you not have him in your? I mean, listen, that guard lineup is actually pretty good. But if I'm spending my big money, what Nelson is a difference maker at guard. There's not many guys that make a difference at guard.
He is a nasty human being that changes games.
There's nobody
at an offensive line position when you can just manhandle 1 or even 2 guys sometimes.
Yes.
And scream while you do it.
Yeah. He is a madman.
Yeah.
And then my $3 goes to, I'm giving it to Humphrey then. That's how I spend my 15, because Creed Humphrey, last year he was a rookie, but he was the highest graded offensive lineman of all the rookies. And that includes like Slater and Sewell and all those guys. So
well, guess what? I have enough money left where I could change.
It's true.
Okay?
You got an extra
so
5.
I could still have him and then have a lot of young guys on my offensive line.
So you did your $10 one. So can you hit us with your?
I said either Tooney or Sheriff.
Right. Okay.
I would switch between those 2. Yes, I could go higher than that as
of
well,
course.
but those guys are good players.
They are.
They're very good players.
Yes. I mean, again, granted, this list is very long, full of guys. I'm sure most people would probably start off with Trent Williams because obviously, yes, he's
long in the tooth. He's
absolutely
up there in age. Yes, he's a solid player, but at the same time,
and I would say he's the top tackle in the league right now for sure. But for how much longer? That's also my question as well. So, so offensive line, real quick, one more time for everybody out there, just so they kind of get a
say it again.
Yeah, just to give everybody.
Okay,
a little reference.
I'm going Slater, Sewell. We'll just say Sheriff for fun.
Right.
And then Quentin Nelson, and then who the hell did I have? I can't even remember his name, and I can't see it because the lower third's in the way.
Was it Ragnow?
Yes.
Yes, Frank Ragnow.
Frank Ragnow.
Apologies for that, by the way. Tried to make it as clean as I could for everybody to be able to see.
And again, said it before, not to go off subject.
Right.
Those 2 offensive linemen for the Detroit Lions, along with some other guys.
Yeah. I mean, hey, those guys look like they're going to be pretty good this year. By the way, J.C. Treader, for those who don't know, on the very bottom there for your centers, still a free agent, not signed yet. So if you need a center, I'm just saying.
He made the list.
He's considered one of the best. Sign him, somebody. But we'll see what that. And then so I'm going with Stanley. I'm going with Armstead. I'm going to say Sheriff. I'm going to go Nelson. And I'm going to say Humphrey. I think that's a solid group, honestly. So what do you guys think about that for the offensive line? Obviously, I'll post this up on the Facebook. I'll post it on the Instagram. You guys play along too. Shout out again, Pro Football Focus, for putting this together. We may do more like this if they put them out. I want to make sure to give them some credit because obviously they did put this together, and I just wanted to play the game with us. And thank you again, Rashad, for kind of bringing this to my attention, sending this to me. Really appreciate this, man. So thank you again for this question, and thank you for the fun game too. So we will. Plus, I put a lot of effort into putting all those dollar signs and everything together. I made those lower thirds, so we're definitely playing. We're playing this game again at some point. But we'll see what happens.
Many different players.
Absolutely, and we can make our own offenses, our own defenses. The sky is the limit here, folks. The sky is absolutely the limit. But that's going to do it for the show here, ladies and gentlemen. And obviously, thank you all so much for watching and listening, first and foremost. And thank you, of course, to my co-host, Mr. Drew Gwillem here. Drew, thank you
class
so much.
president.
And class president, of course. Make sure.
Vote for Drew.
Vote for Drew, class president. Hashtag that one out there. Vote for Drew is a win for sports, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. It's a win for sports.
And a win for you.
And a win for you, absolutely. Vote for Drew is a win for you. That'll be the slogan there, folks. That's going out there.
We're
folks.
gonna maybe we'll just make a song too. Just saying.
You know what? I got a jingle going. We got one. We'll make it happen. Drew, class president, as always, thank you so much for joining me, man. It is a pleasure to have you, Mr.
Like Drew.
It's a pleasure to have you, Mr. President, with us. So please let us know.
Very good, sir.
Let us know, sir, where they can find you, listen to you, all that good stuff.
Find me shaking hands and kissing babies right here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show every Wednesdays and Thursdays.
That's good.
Check me out on Instagram at d.gwil25 and Facebook at Drew Gwillem.
Absolutely. Guys, make sure to go follow President Drew Gwillem here, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Make sure to go follow him. He's a wonderful guy. Ask him any questions, comments, things like that. He appreciates it. I do too, but I think he would appreciate some of these other ones more. But nevertheless, please, by all means, ask him some stuff. And if you want to follow me, ask me any questions, comments, yell at me, all kinds of stuff, you guys can find me at The Fluffy Guru on Twitter. You can also find me at Boom Crew Captain on Instagram, which, by the way, thank you all so much to everybody who gave us our inputs on our list for top 10 quarterbacks. A lot of you didn't really like any of the ones we did, so I don't know how to help you. Sorry. Well, we got blasted constantly. My God, I could not pick wrong, and I couldn't pick right. I can't do anything, apparently. So if you want to obviously see any more of that show, you can find it on the Facebook or the YouTube side. For any updates, it's facebook.com/Team XBomb Sports, and the YouTube side as well, which is just XBomb Sports on YouTube. Find the big red X with the bomb next to it in the explosion. Can't miss it as well. Also, too, guys, make sure to follow us on our social media at XBomb Sports on Twitter and Instagram. And any questions or comments that you have, which, again, if you guys want to talk more about this top 10 quarterback list, we still have them. We can go through another discussion if you want to. I just don't know what else there is to say at this point. It's a list. Get over it. It's our opinions. Who cares if he has Kyler Murray and I have Dak Prescott still in there? Who cares? God. You can hit us up at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. Now for the podcast stuff, real quick, we're just going to run through it. Blow the whistle. Radio side. We did the radio show Monday, 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time. You're going to catch us on the TV side. We'll be doing the TV side tomorrow. I think we're shooting for 2:30 to 3:30, so make sure to catch us there. And then we're going to be doing the X-Bomb Sports Show with my boy here, Mr. President himself, Drew Gwillem, hosting as well. So be on the verge for that because we're going to be talking.
Vote for me.
Vote for Drew.
Vote for me.
Because a vote for Drew is a
vote for you.
Absolutely. So be aware, though, he's going to be obviously talking about something that is very dear to our heart at this point, that the president does not like toy drives. But that's for tomorrow. But make sure, of course, to follow our boys, Brandon Janeska at 94.3 WMKR, doing his thing. Obviously, too, you can find him at Baseball Banter with Brandon on Spotify, along with Spotify as well. Find a wonderful Money Motivation with Hannah B on there as well. Also on the Odyssey and iHeartRadio, too. You can also catch her at 102.3 XLC, the afternoon drive, 3 to 7 p.m. Central Time. Check out there. And she's also at Star 96.3 doing the After 8 Hours show with Eddie Volkman. So catch her on the radio there as well in the morning, as well as in the afternoon for 102.3 XLC. And check out our boys at the Parlay. It's our boys, Tony Lopez and former Bull and professional boxer Kendall Gill, doing their thing. Come on, Jake Paul. Let's make this happen, man. Hashtag Gill versus Paul. Hashtag Paul versus Gill. We want one more chance. Let's go. Make it happen. I'm going to get smoked by this fool. Watch. Absolutely. And if you guys want any more news for your fantasy football, you guys can check out the Fake Football Guys as well. It's on YouTube at Fake Football Guys. Check them out. We'll be going live next week, so be on the lookout for that. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. Again, big shout out to our boy TJ Knacker in the back as well. I want to make sure. Thank you so much, TJ, for being a participant in this. We'll get a camera back there soon, folks. I know how much you love his beard. I got the emails. They love your beard, TJ. They truly, truly do. So big shout out to our boy TJ Knacker. We'll see you all tomorrow. And as always, much love. Peace out, Boom Crew.